Alright, so we are discussing the questions of science and technology, and the first question that I have taken the screenshot is about the artificial intelligence, which first asks you to introduce the concept of artificial intelligence. In this, you have a little liberty to choose your introduction. The good introduction would be if you can write a good definition. When I say good definition, do not write a loose definition that artificial intelligence is something in which a machine mimics a human intelligence. No, that is not how you write the artificial intelligence. That is what I said. Do not write a technology answer in a generic language, right? So let us first understand how will I introduce. Second, if India or world or any organization, global organization has an aim of using that technology for some future perspective, you can use that introduction also. And third, if there has been some major initiative. Now, the second part is how does AI help clinical diagnosis? So when I talk about clinical diagnosis, it is clearly saying diagnosis. What is it is not asking AI in healthcare. Please try and understand, this is not artificial intelligence in healthcare. Artificial intelligence in healthcare mein aap hospital management, you do not have to speak about the hospital management. You do not have to speak that it will help in, you know, making the your rosters better, or it will help in management of the data. No, it is clearly asking you. And why it is asking you that how it will help in clinical diagnosis? Because I have the habit of attaching the links also of the sources from where the question would have been made. There have been various initiatives taken by various countries and organizations such as European Union, Canada, USA together have now formed laws, and you also have a law for the country. Our country has also come up with the law on data. In general, जो आपको Data India Bill याद होगा, the Data India Bill that you would have mugged up or you would have studied with its different postulates, it basically is going to cater to all these technologies in various areas. Now, what exactly is diagnosis? I have to understand. Diagnosis is when I get to know that what is wrong with the person, and how by having a better diagnosis, I will be in a better position to provide healthcare. So understand the demand of the question. आपको 2 दिन से ये बोला जा रहा है, demand of the question ढूंढिए, demand of the question ढूंढिए. ये रही demand. Demand ये है कि it is not AI in healthcare, it is AI in clinical diagnosis, and how that will eventually help in the healthcare. That is how you have to frame the answer. Third thing, do you? First is do you. It is not saying what are the various concerns. It is asking, do you perceive that there are any threats which are associated with using of artificial intelligence in healthcare? Now this is talking about a more wider perspective. That if I start using artificial intelligence in healthcare, is it going to replace doctors? Is it going to create a one treatment for all kind of a scenario? Will it be catering to different people in different areas? So the 3 parts of the questions are varied. We have to first identify in that very less time 1, 2, 3 part, then cater to them, divide our time as well as the word limit accordingly. Everybody would have told you that do not go with the introduction for more than 50-60 words, and that applies to science and tech as well, right? हमको सारी कहानी इंट्रोडक्शन में नहीं बता देनी है, ये सब आप जानते हैं. इसलिए मैंने आपसे पूछा था, the question I asked you, did you try to write it? Because when you, I have this observation, because the questions are coming to me, people are trying to attempt these questions, and I am finding they are confused between the second and the third part, and they are simply writing about the healthcare. So first we will try to understand how we will attempt. Now second is discussed several ways in which microorganisms can help in meeting the current fuel shortages. Now, is it a technology question? Is it an environment question? Is it something from Sustainable Development Goal 7? How will I attempt this question? So if you remember from the classes, we used to do a topic called as alternate fuels. And that was something that I had also told that this you can fit in the environment also, this you can fit in your governance also, this you are going to fit in your science and technology also. Now, obviously this means is over. The idea of keeping this session is one, not only analyzing this year's question paper, but also trying to analyze what exactly are the demands of UPSC when they ask questions in the means. So here I understood that electric vehicle has been asked, microorganisms in fuel has been asked, that is UPSC is focusing on alternate fuels. So I have to prepare a broader topic first, from my basic understanding, one, what are alternative fuels, and then I will fit what are the various ways. For example, this is a question on biotechnology also. This is a question from nanotechnology also. Those who are from foundation, they can find the various aspects ki isme, the postulates which we have done, biotech and healthcare. If you remember, we had written in points: biotechnology, major umbrella, biotechnology in healthcare, biotechnology in industry, biotechnology in fuel, biotechnology in my normal life. Or one generic answer I used to tell everyone, simply write how technology will revolutionize the life of a farmer and how it will revolutionize the life of poorer section. Same goes with nanotechnology, same goes with all of them. Why this practice was given to the students? Because when a question comes like this, I'll show you a model answer also. It helps me in better understanding. For example, this was the question which we had made students practice. A more generic question, it isn't more specified. The question that has been asked in the paper is a more specific question. Here we have simply asked, the advancements in biotechnology have increased the utility of microbes in a variety of industrial processes. Now this is how you have to prepare these topics. When you have the major topics, the major blocks being ICT, nanotech, biotech, these are the major areas which are repeatedly being asked, if not directly in the science and technology, then in various areas. Another area which is upcoming, which I am seeing repeatedly, is the alternate fuels and how India is going to achieve its target that India has promised at various forums, and how the world is going to do. Again, something we used to discuss in the class again and again. Nitin Gadkari Saab and Prime Minister Modi is saying that we are going to make it the green hydrogen hub. Right? So green hydrogen hub is equal to electrical vehicles. So we have to prepare these topics from the point of view of alternate sources. Right? How will I prepare micro or the role of microbes in ensuring that the fuel is a clean fuel is when I have a clear idea about what are the various clean fuels, and within this the area is the biomass energy. If I prepare alternate source of energy, I have various other energies, so I have my knowledge base created. Right? I am not going to discuss ki is answer mein you have to write this point, that point, that. You are going to get model answers. 250 model answers will be available. What we have to do is how we learn from this question paper in order to prepare for the future question papers. I am seeing that there is a connection. I am seeing that there is a repetition of theme. For example, there is a repetition of theme with the third question, which is on Chandrayaan. Chandrayaan mission is a repetition of the theme of current affairs plus space. You had the space, say related James Webb Space Telescope. And do you see the tone of the question is the same? The tone of the question, for example, here if I see, this is the question that was asked. The question said, first part of the question, what is the main task of India's third moon mission which could not be achieved in its earlier mission? Whenever you study any mission, there is a general learning that any teacher, or I have also said in the class, if you are studying Chandrayaan 3, you have to know what happened in Chandrayaan 1, what happened in Chandrayaan 2, what could not be achieved in Chandrayaan 2, and that is exactly the tone of the question here. Ki what was the task which could not be achieved earlier? So if you simply do the current affairs, I am trying to establish the fact that science and technology is not just about mugging up the one-liners from the current affairs magazines. Try and understand, it is more elaborate. They are asking you everything about India's space initiatives to moon, right from the first Chandrayaan mission to second mission, and what we could do in the third mission which we could not do. The best source for reading would be ISRO's website. ISRO will give you what are the objectives. We'll be seeing the answers to these questions also, but for example, is the similar question is going to be repeated? Why not? In 2022, the question in the mains was, launched on 25th December 2021, James Webb Space Telescope has been in news. What are its unique features which make it superior to its predecessor? So I need to know what was the Hubble's telescope and how it is an upgradation. Second, what are the key goals of the mission? Do I see the same line here? what are the key goals or what are the subparts, subsystems in the spacecraft, and then what potential benefit it holds for the human race. So same tone, same kind of question asked repeatedly. 2022 means you took a current affairs topic and you asked everything right from the beginning of similar concepts and how it is going to create a narrative for the future. Same goes with Chandrayaan also. You can find a similar question in your upcoming means for Aditya mission and Gaganyaan mission. The two more upcoming missions are these. So you have to prepare these missions also on the same line. For example, the same question can be reframed, let us say in the future question papers, what exactly is Aditya L1 mission? What do you understand by the Lagrange points? How many Lagrange points are there? Are there only Lagrange points between sun and earth, or is it between multiple planets? Anything from that area can be a subpart here. Then they are going to ask what is the significance of this mission and how this mission is going to help the future understanding of the solar atmosphere and the solar surface. Just like in this year, first part of the question is what is the main task. Second, list the countries that have achieved. So you simply cannot mug up Chandrayaan 3 mission. These are the payloads and that is what we have done. When did Russia do the soft landing? Because we are studying that India is the 4th country. We are mugging up the name of the countries. We are not trying to understand that when these feats were achieved. They have simply asked you the facts. So first myth broken is you cannot go with the one-liner understanding to gamble with 3 to 4 questions in your means. Second, you need to have a clear understanding of these major projects, projects to moon, projects to Mars, projects to asteroids. Another area for, let us say 2024 or 25 would be question on asteroid. You can find a question on asteroid because a lot of projects are coming up. Hayabusa 2 is there, Osiris Rex is already there. Then you also have various initiatives to not have another dinosaur extinct kind of event that has happened with the earth, and it is not just by NASA, it is by European Space Agency also. So you need to know what these projects are. Another important area here comes is asteroids. Third important area which is important is the moons of Saturn and Jupiter, right? So when randomly you find questions on, let us say, Bennu, it is not just random that any space program happened and they are asking questions, because the main reason for these space initiatives is one, trying to find the possibility of life, which can be on a moon, which can be on a planet, which can be on any satellite, asteroids, anything. For example, Titan, which is a very important moon, also has various missions. So from the theme space, I identified 4 more areas for my upcoming examination. 1, Aditya mission, Gaganyaan mission, missions on asteroids, mission on the moons of Saturn and Jupiter along with Mars. Mars is something which will remain relevant. I have identified these are the areas which are important for me. Now, the demand of this question proceeds. Introduce the subsystem in the spacecraft. If you go through the ISRO's website, they have categorically in a tabular form have given you these are the various payloads and this is the significance of various payloads, right? And then what is the role of the virtual launch control center? Now the term here, there are 2 things. There is a high possibility a lot of students did not know about this part of the question. They would have been comfortable with half of the question. This is a 15 marker. So 15 marker question, आधा question उनको पता होगा, they would have known half of the question. What 2 areas which I believe they would have not known is what are the timelines and the other countries when they achieved the soft landing. That is where they would have found a little problem. Second is they would have found a little problem with the control center, the virtual launch control center, which is at Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. Because all we hear again and again is Sriharikota. So Sriharikota is something that, and not everyone comes from a science background or has a huge interest in space technology. So maybe they only stuck to this basic understanding. What you have to go with is keywords. Keywords here is 1, virtual. Virtual means the actual launching did not take place there. What would the keyword virtual mean? That it is a place or it is a center where the actual landing or the actual event did not take place. It is a control center. It is a control center. So a good guess would have been that this is a center where the simulations, 1, or the controlling of the launching of Chandrayaan was taken care of. Even if you would have written that, I have told you there are two ways of marking when it comes to mains. If it is a known theme, they expect you to write a good, proper, structured answer, such as the question on microbes. They would want you to write a good answer. They would want you to make a proper table also. They would want you to write multiple dimensions also. In this question, as long as you had written the year and the country, and as long as you had written that it is a virtual center from where the simulations or from where the launching was controlled, apart from Sriharikota, it would have done the job. But it is all about the presence of mind. Do not get feared when you find these terms. Go for the root word. With technology, always remember, go for the root word, virtual and control center. So now let us try to attempt these questions. These are the other questions which I found in GS paper 3, which are not directly from science and technology, but had an element of technology with them. For example, the status of digitalization in Indian economy. Whenever we do ICT, I told you in ICT, there are no technologies, there are more applications. How ICT is going to revolutionize governance, how ICT is going to revolutionize the economy, because ICT in general, you remove blockchain, you remove big data, there are only 4-5 topics that are left, which are not being asked directly from 3 to 4 years. These are more application based. So if you have written, for example, when sir was discussing, I was listening to that discussion, when he was discussing drones, you simply cannot write that drones will be used for border management. You have to give a little detail also, a little technical detail also, which he told also, likhna padega aapko. Right, that applies with the applied areas of technology also, that for example, if there's a question on status of digitalization, you have to write the various initiatives that are being taken by the banks, that are being taken by the NBFCs. For example, what exactly is UPI, what is UPI 2.0, how it has revolutionized the payment systems, how QR codes, pick your initiative. You do not have to know all, but if you have written 2, 3, 4 initiatives with the technical understanding, वो जो 3 से 4.5 का सफर होता है आंसर्स में, मार्किंग में, that can be achieved with this. Second, of course, electric vehicles. Electric vehicles, again, the theme that has been covered here is alternate fuels. So I find 2 questions in GS paper 3 from the theme of alternate fuels. So you have to find good content within your notes. Try to find it from credible sources about the various alternate sources for clean energy. The main theme would be clean energy. It is not an environment theme. It is not a technology theme. The major umbrella theme in which the various questions will be formed. Let us attempt the first question. In the first question, introduce the concept of artificial intelligence. So let us try to introduce. What is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is a field of computer science and engineering practices for intelligence demonstrated by machines and intelligent agents. Now this is the definition which is given by IBM. It is very difficult for me to remember this definition, right? बहुत technical है. There is a lot of jargon, technical jargon, if I talk from non-science background, for a person who's not from the technical understanding or let us say interest. So what the question said, introduce in your words. So you can introduce in your words that the use of various chatbots, you can take the example there. The chat GPT was able to diagnose the disease in a US woman which otherwise has remained undiagnosed from last 10 years, as reported by New York Times, is an example of how artificial intelligence is revolutionizing the clinical diagnosis. If I am not comfortable with the technical definitions, I cannot ask you to go on mugging up. That is not possible. That is not even practical. So at least for those areas, when you know the theme is quantum computing, any day question can come. AI, any day question can come. So find out such examples and keep them ready for your mains. So what will be your learning from this? Your learning from this is, if I am not able to remember the definitions which are very technical, then I am going to find the examples or case studies which will give, there are 2 types of introduction which I find. One is the simple placebo, right? पत्ता गोभी type introduction की है, ठीक है, खराब नहीं है, लेकिन समझ में आ रहा है what is happening. Second is the Jhatak type of introduction कि हाँ, examiner को समझ में आया, they know what are the various applications and the student has directly jumped to the main theme of the question, which is my clinical diagnosis. For that, I need to do a little extra effort, that is go through the news, and this is the news we all have seen, read somewhere. Just jot it down somewhere for your answer writing. It will help you in answer writing. It will help you somewhere in your essay also. You have been attending the workshops. You know that you need a lot of content for your means. Now, AI in healthcare has the opportunity to transform the way we diagnose, first part, treat, second part, and prevent the disease. So I have established that I am going to talk about three aspects, that is the diagnosis, second, the prevention, and the third is how I am going to treat the disease. So I am going to talk about various therapies, I am going to talk about the various diagnostic tools, and I am going to talk about the various preventive therapies, which is more of precise medicine, right? These are 3-4 points that I have jotted down from one, the Hindu. The points that I have taken are purely from newspapers, and the Hindu, Indian Express, and Economic Times are the three sources that I have used. Now these points have come in your the Hindu article. So when we say that you have to have the understanding of newspapers, this is what we are trying to say. When I say diagnosis, do not just go that with the help of AI, since these are intelligent machines, we are in a better position to diagnose the disease. No. Tell which is the way. For example, if I have taken the first point is diagnosis and treatment planning, then to analyze the imaging. आपने अगर इतना भी थोड़े बहुत points लिख दिए that it will help in making MRI, X-ray diagnosis and various diagnosis easy, faster, cheaper, then also it will do the job. But when you will read this much, you will end up writing 2 to 3 relevant lines in your mains. So for example, we can stick to this. You can remember 3 to 4 points. For example, detecting lung cancer or strokes based on CT scans. Now what happens is, we cannot understand the whole imaging thing, but what is the meaning of imaging? Imaging and diagnosis. आपने labs के बाहर पढ़ा होगा. So and so imaging, and what is imaging? Photo खींचना, right? For example, X-ray is a more simpler form. Then you go for a CT or a MRI, in which you have a more detailed picture of the internal organs. It is based on the interpretation by the medical practitioner that he or she is going to tell me what is wrong with your body. But what happens that I use machine learning, deep data, do we have some knowledge about these concepts? Thoda bahut? Do we understand how ChatGPT works roughly? Right. So I have the natural language learning processes. So basically when I put in a lot of data, these various algorithms, they pick up on this data and they make a general understanding. For example, if I have a brain scan and I find certain lesions which are common to this brain scan, and I find that whenever such lesions are present, 98% of the times the people end up having a stroke. This data can be collected by integrating the systems of various hospitals, various organizations throughout the world, and then if I have a system in which if I put the scans, the data or the result that will come out is not the interpretation of a medical practitioner, but will be by the combined judgment of more than 1,000 of medical practitioners. So this is how it is going to make it faster. Understand it, do not just mug it up. That I will put multiple scans, multiple such information into something called as machine learning. I do not know machine learning, but I know that something in which there is a machine which is interpreting data and giving you the output. What is that data? Data from various hospitals, imaging centers, etc. Will it make the overall process less costly? Yes, because less humans are involved. Will it make the process faster? Yes. आप इसमें points क्या लिखेंगे? That it will make processes such as imaging or diagnosis faster. But we have to, if possible, we have to include some example like this, right? There is no harm. There is no harm. If you look at model answers, you will simply get subheadings such as it will make imaging better, it will make imaging faster, it will be helpful in clinical trials, etc., etc. You would have seen that even in the toppers marks, GS paper 3 generally ends up with double digit. GS पेपर 3 में ट्रिपल डिजिट लाना थोड़ा मुश्किल होता है. आप ये एनालिसिस खुद कीजिए, क्योंकि दिक्कत क्या है, ऑल द सब्जेक्ट्स विच आर पार्ट ऑफ GS पेपर 3 आर वेरी स्पेशलाइज्ड इन देयर ओन डोमेन, बट वी स्टार्ट राइटिंग समथिंग विच इज वेरी जनरल. if you have identified the theme, try to find notes which are more specific to that particular area. For example, this is an example of AI in healthcare. Try to find something in AI, let us say in governance. How AI is going to help in governance? What are the initiatives? What are the processes that will be involved? So these are the various initiatives. For example, here you can use a simple 1, 2, 3, 4 diagram that it will help, let us say, developing the drug faster. Do we remember in the introduction we established diagnosis, treatment and prevention. This is the part of the treatment, that how am I going to prevent drugs. When we say that we will make very precise drugs, this is how we precise. We first find the target molecule. Have you done biotechnology somewhere or read by yourself? Right? आपने सुना होगा that RNAi gene or genetic therapy or gene therapy, with gene therapy the cancer treatment is better, etc., etc. This is what exactly happens. You identify the molecule which is a problem, you discover the effective drug which works on that particular area. For example, there is a particular gene which is creating a problem, there is a particular protein which is creating a problem, you find a drug for that. You speed up the clinical trials. How do you speed up the clinical trials? For example, 12 labs are doing the same clinical trials in 12 parts of the world, and you integrate the data. This is where AI comes. This is where AI comes. So if the drug making during vaccine क्या बार बार ये बोला जा रहा था कि आपकी जो वैक्सीन मेकिंग प्रोसेस बहुत लंबी होती है, लेकिन उन्होंने बहुत जल्दी वैक्सीन बना दी. इट इज अ वेरी लेंथी प्रोसेस, बट दे हैव प्रिपेयर्ड द वैक्सीन वेरी फास्ट. Why it is the lengthy process? This is where the time consumption is maximum. If I use AI in this step, then the drug manufacturing will be biomarkers. When you will be, this is very technical. This, until and unless you do not study this question will be difficult to answer. Right? You cannot simply answer this question. You cannot expect good marks in this question by just general knowledge. You have to know the various techniques which are involved. What are biomarkers? What are the role of biomarkers? And how, if I integrate AI with that, it will help. So then you have personalized treatment also. Personalized treatment, then you have the genomic studies also. Hanji sir.
Based on that AI is giving us result or candidate for the steps.
Yes, sir.
My question is that for that there shall be a data.
Yes, sir.
that data क्योंकि अगर डॉक्टर्स कुछ कंक्लूजन में पहुंच जाए तो जरूरी तो नहीं कि वो कहीं पे जाकर डंप करें.
So this is how, even for example, there is something called as the standard books for medicine. वो standard books for medicine, for example, are approved by the various hospitals and medical boards, and then they are allowed to be used by the doctors. How that approval takes place, if you happen to find time, जो research papers भी होते हैं, जैसे even in class, whenever there is a new technology, I ask my students that first see whether the government has approved it or there is only a research paper. A research paper is something I have done a research and I am giving my data. But if the government has agreed to it, that means the government has taken considerable such examples, found out the result, and then given approval for that particular technique.
They are online and
yes, now it is exactly, this is what the future holds. For example, Medanta is there, Apollo is there. For example, Sir Gangaram Hospital. If I look at Delhi, I've got 4 or 5 such hospitals which have a centralized computer system. Medanta has one of the best brain and spine department. Right? There might be such departments in various parts of the country. They will find, for example, there is a study also going on what is the linking of COVID with brain hemorrhages and stroke. And that is a study that has been carried out by Medanta, that has been carried out by Beijing, that is being carried out by 12 such hospitals around the world. Now this data is actually being collected from 3 years. This data this part is where the AI will take place, that these clinical trials, this data, these observations will be put in a system that if, let us say, there is a lesion like this in the brain, then this is the outcome. This is what is happening. It will help me, one, in understanding the disease and their connections better, and it will help me in making the treatments better. The processing work will reduce with AI.
Humans who are putting the data,
Yes.
AI is taking the use of that data.
Yes, sir. But इसका जो third part है, what are the concerns? That is also the important part.
So first we are there, right?
Of course, sir. Without until and unless the hospitals won't put the data of the this is specifically a question on the clinical diagnosis. It is not AI in healthcare. Had it been a question on AI in healthcare, we would have written a general answer. But this is on diagnosis. For diagnosis, until and unless there is an data which has been put into the system will not get anything to process. So it starts with that. That I have multiple labs. For example, I have Covaxin, I have Covishield. They have their findings, and then let us say we want to make, just like we have the flu vaccines. Flu vaccines कैसे बनी है sir? Flu vaccines भी ऐसे ही बनी है that multiple vaccines were created, and then finally we found various formulas which worked for different climatic conditions on different people. So, but that process takes a lot of time. AI can cut down on that time-taking process. Because then it is as simple as having a phone with a better processor than having a simple phone. The one with a better processor will do the functions faster. Artificial intelligence will basically find the commonalities and the differences and then make its final judgment. For example, here, let us say, when I'm doing the personalized treatment, the algorithm can predict the patient's probable response to a certain treatment and then design the right treatment. So, for example, if there has been, during COVID, ये trials and errors तो हो रहे थे ना sir. During COVID, there was no such vaccine, but various organizations and hospitals around the world, this question actually is stemming out. Very honestly, since we read a lot, we can understand why, but this particular question is stemming out from how the various hospitals, the big hospitals or the big medical centers around the world are actually planning to integrate their information, especially after COVID, to create a better diagnosis system. And for that, they will be using AI. Right? So, if I want to write a very specific answer, I can write it in this form. This also I have sourced from Hindu only. Hindu में आपको proper technical details के साथ answers दिए जाते हैं if something is happening on a larger scale. Keep an eye on that. For example, the potential benefits are there, but what are the concerns? Now, this is something which we know. This is something, Hanji sir. OPED. Yes. Sometimes in OPEDs, though science, abhi itna kuch is happening in the world that technology is the last thing that comes to the OPED people's mind. But sometimes when the issue is bigger, you find a very detailed analysis even in the OPEDs. Right? Same with the Indian Express also. Indian Express ka bhi coverage of technology based areas is very good. Yes. And of course, the specialized paper that will help you. That is more helpful in the prelims part also. Right? So, sir, coming to the third part of the question. Third part of the question was concern. Concern part, I expect the students generally know. What could be the concern? Concern would be data privacy and security. For example, this was also the concern with something as simple as Aadhaar also, that I do not want to share my data or my biological information. Here, when I'm talking about clinical diagnosis, you are actually sharing your, basic biological information with the system and then eventually with the machine. And as you know that there has been allegations about data being sold, data being used for various purposes, then there is always a concern that pharmaceutical companies can use the data to their advantage. Here you have the liberty to write the answer in your term. This is one area. Out of this question, the only area I was concerned for my student was that they will move AI into the healthcare rather than clinical diagnosis. Right? This question is on clinical diagnosis. So let us say bias in the data. If AI has the set patterns for certain type of input or data, वो उसका तो आपको जवाब दे देगी, लेकिन जिसकी उसको एलेक्सा किसी ने यूज करा है घर पे? When you ask questions from Alexa, when the Alexa does not have the input, what does Alexa say? मैं इसके बारे में आपको नहीं बता सकती. That is, Alexa is nothing but a simpler form of AI. What is Alexa? Alexa is also an example of artificial intelligence in your general surrounding. Now, what does it say? That bias in the data means that if the data that they are trained on is not represented in the population, then the final result will be biased. Initially जब Alexa आई थी या Siri आई थी, Indian accents or Chinese accents they could not understand because the data that had been fed was more in the American accents and the European accents. So since the data is not, they are not trained on a certain type of data, then the result also can be biased. And when it comes to health, that can be a concern. Whether कोई मेडिसिन है या कोई फार्मास्यूटिकल ट्रीटमेंट है वो आपकी पॉपुलेशन को सूट कर रहा है नहीं कर रहा है, दैट कैन बिकम अ प्रॉब्लम. द मेजर प्रॉब्लम इज we do not have any rules and regulation. We do not know, for example, Alexa is constantly hearing your voice. Your Google, okay Google is constantly hearing your voice. You do not know whether the data is being used, misused, it is being sold, and what exactly, because there are no international national laws on that. So what is conclusion? कैसे लिखेंगे? Body हमको समझ में आ रहा है कैसे लिखना है? Do I need to tell you how to structure the body part? There has to be paragraph, there have to be pointers. I think you would have been told that 200 times by now. Right. So let us come to the main portion कि लिखना क्या है, content क्या है. Conclusion हम इनमें कैसे लिखेंगे? जैसे मैंने आपसे बोला था introduction में, या तो define the technology or write something that has happened very interesting or something that is revolutionary. In conclusion, what are you doing about it? So this question raised three issues. One, what exactly is AI? Second, AI in diagnosis, clinical diagnosis. Third, what is the major concern if I use it in the healthcare? तो इसका conclusion क्या ही हो सकता है कि what is the initiative of government of India to make sure that one, we use the technology. We cannot run away from the technology. कभी भी कोई नई technology आएगी, whenever there will be a new technology, there will be concerns whether it will be harmful for the human race, whether it will be good. It is with every technology. You have to adapt and make the best use of it. Your answer should be also of the same tone. So we will simply write that the Data India Bill, which is currently, if a student had written the answer right now, it is right now open for discussion. So this bill will basically put in place the proper regulations for technologies such as artificial intelligence, quantum computing, etc. That's it. This will be an answer which is of science and technology and not an answer which is about general use of technology. इस answer में always remember science and tech is very scoring if you write very specific answer. For that you need to identify themes, you need to identify the umbrella topics और उसके ऊपर कुछ रेडीमेड गाय का ऐसे जैसे याद था ना बचपन में, साइंस एंड टेक के साथ कुछ एरियाज ऐसे हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आई नो दिस थीम इज इंपॉर्टेंट, आई हैव टू रिमेंबर. अनदर सच क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम दिस थीम वाज माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिज्म. Are microorganisms being repeated? Have you done an analysis of previous year questions? Yes. So microorganisms, how, or biotechnology, how it can help the farmer, how it can uplift the poorer section. Here they have asked about the fuels. So for fuels, we will write about the microbial fuel cells. What are microbial fuel cells? Microbial fuel cells, अगर आपको नहीं आता, I'll share this PPT with you. This is a very simplified diagram of how you make electricity by using a fuel cell which uses microbes, right? So you use organic material, that organic material ends up creating electricity. उसके अलावा something that you know, biofuels. You have the National Biofuel Policy 2018. इस question में ना you have a level playing field. You can write a lot about it. You can write various aspects about it. For example, we can write how it acts like a battery, how it can produce electrons, which then थोड़ा anode cathode याद है लोगों को, right? So what was you had the anode part, then you had the cathode part. From this the electron movement was taking place. What exactly is electricity, Baba? Movement of electron. So if I can create any cell which allows for the free movement of electrons, that means I will be able to create a battery or a cell. Whether I am using microbial fuel cell, whether I am using hydrogen fuel cell, whether I am using any fuel cell, basic यही है कि there will be an anode cathode and I have to allow for the movement. For example, in hydrogen fuel cell, I will use the electrolysis of water. I will break water into hydrogen, oxygen, and then this is that hydrogen which will be used for the making of fuel. Same hydrogen, आप इस question से, जैसे these are the various areas. For example, what is biogas? Biogas is methane. आपका गोबर्धन इनिशिएटिव है गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का. हमारा गोबर्धन इनिशिएटिव बेसिकली इज कन्वर्टिंग काउ डंग दैट इज वेस्ट टू fuel. I want to convert cow dung into fuel which can be used for cooking, which can be used for running cars, vehicles, anything. So I can use that area that basically methane and biogas can be used. Then bioethanol. What is bioethanol? Ethanol is used in industry. Ethanol is also used for blending, right? आप पेट्रोल डीजल के साथ ब्लेंडिंग करा रहे हैं जिसमें आपका बायोफ्यूल वाला जो इनिशिएटिव है दैट विल come into picture. Then you have biodiesel, advanced biofuel production. केवल बायोफ्यूल की जगह अगर इसको बाइफरकेट करके लिख देंगे, if you write it bifurcated, then you will have better chance of getting good answer and good marks. Then bioprocessing. What is bioprocessing? Now this is something which is a little edgy. ये हम थोड़ा क्लास में भी डिस्कस करते हैं. जैसे whenever I ask how microorganisms can be used in industry, this is where the knowledge will help you. For example, when I'm extracting ores, petroleum, iron, to remove the impurities also you can use the genetically engineered microorganisms. Can we recall that? We studied that genetically engineered microorganisms can be used for bioremediation. They can be used, we can recall that, for bioremediation, for cleaning different types of fuels, etc. Use that in your answers here. Right? Use that in your answers here, because eventually if I remove these impurities from my conventional fuel also, the efficiency of the fuel will increase, right? So I have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If it is a 10 marker and I have to write how microorganisms will help me in creating cleaner fuels, then I need to write at least 5 to 6 points. In that 5 to 6 points, we can also, for example, we can use how biomass can be used for making energy. Wood. Do we know what is biomass and how biomass can be used for making energy? Biofuels, right? So biomass hota kya hai? Biomass is agricultural waste, wood chips, leaves, anything which is organic, जो कि convert किया जा सकता है, which can be converted into energy, is called as biomass energy. So biomass is agricultural crop, waste material, soya bean, etc., and energy which is created by using the biomass. So you will use this also for energy. Then we will distinguish biofuels into 3 parts. What are the 3 parts of biofuels? You have the solid, liquid, and gaseous. In solid you have wood, dried plants. These are simpler. With liquid you have bioethanol, biodiesel, which we have discussed, and then you have biogas. And then we can write about the salient features of the biofuels policy, and that ways आपको जैसे बताया गया था कि use an infographic or use a table along with the paragraph, you can use it for the first generation, second generation, third generation. India is now trying to move to the higher generations of biofuels. Why higher generation? Sir, I'll share this with you. I'll share this with whatever group, these PPTs. So I have basic biofuels which are first generation, and then I want to create second which has less greenhouse gas content. Then you have carbon neutral biofuels, and then you have carbon negative biofuels. This is more useful for your mains. What is carbon neutral and carbon negative? क्या होता है? Carbon neutral यानी कि break even, basically. In simple layman language, it is break even. कि आप उतना, जैसे हम जब net zero पढ़ते हैं, net zero ऐसा नहीं है कि you will not produce carbon dioxide, but you will take measures that whatever carbon you are producing, you will absorb that also, right? Similarly, that will be by the third generation. Fourth generation is that you are using genetically engineered crops in order to create biofuels. These biofuels will actually function with the help of microorganisms to convert these fuels or for producing energy, and this will actually be a carbon negative energy. What is carbon negative energy? That it is reducing more carbon than the process that is involved in producing the product, right? So this point I will use in, let us say, conclusion also, that as India is inching with its biofuel policy towards the fourth generation biofuels, we will be able to realize our 7th SDG, we will be able to realize our 2030 goal, whatever you want. There are so many things when it comes to clean energy, right? Content. What I'm more focusing on science and technology rather than structure, this, that, beautification is content. Content, if it will be rich, if the content will be more specific to the answer, you will gain a lot of, this is the most scoring part of GS paper 3, the most scoring part. Now coming to the next question, the last question. Believe me, we all are in a hurry. Yes. Chandrayaan mission, the easiest one. Did you find this question tough? Was it the most predictable question? साइंस एंड टेक में इसमें भी अगर दिक्कत आ रही है तो फिर थोड़ी दिक्कत, राइट? अगर if you are not expecting even a question on Chandrayaan, literally everyone was thumping their chest, तो फिर थोड़ा we need to revisit our thoughts, why we started what we started. So Chandrayaan mission I can divide into 4 parts. I can easily write 2 parts out of the 4, which is what was the main task of the Chandrayaan mission, right? वो हमको रटा दिया न्यूज़पेपर और न्यूज़ चैनल एजेंसीज, दे हैव we mug everything कि साउथ पोल, why साउथ पोल, water, why water, चालू हो जाए, है ना? why India or the world is focusing on south pole of moon? 1, availability of water, gallons of water, why water, survival of astronauts, and the fuel source also. Which fuel? Hydrogen fuel, which is the most efficient fuel, and it is also a clean fuel. Second, why south pole? Because it has huge craters which are untouched by the sunlight, and therefore we will also understand how the planets and the moons have evolved. Second part done. Third, we want to demonstrate. ISRO has clearly written on its website that we want to demonstrate the technology of both soft landing and rovering, right? We want to demonstrate 2 things. 1, soft landing and rovering. First part done. What is the main task? We understood the main task. Main task you can write in the point form also. Task 1, task 2, task 3. List the countries. This is a little tricky. If you remember, then well and good. Otherwise, it can be a little painful. Subsystems in the spacecraft launch. Again, even if I don't remember all the subsystems, at least I remember that there is a lander and there is a rover. So you cannot leave this part empty. You have to write at least about it. If you can be more specific, great. For example, be very specific with Aditya mission. What are the different payloads of Aditya mission? If you have attended the class, we have written directly from the ISRO, these are the payloads and what are their significances. And if you remember in the class also, I was saying you have to expect a question on either of the 3, Chandrayaan, Aditya or Gaganyaan. It was written, the question will come, and the question will come exactly in the language ISRO has put. If you look at the website of ISRO, na, 1, 2, 3, 4 point में ही उन्होंने दिया हुआ है. This question is a cut and paste from the official website, literal cut and paste. The 4th part is explain the role of virtual launch. So this is a little tough, this is a little tough. This I think we all know. What is in situ scientific experiments? In situ, ex situ, right? शेर पिंजरे के अंदर, जू में तो ex situ, शेर अपने जंगल में तो in situ. So anything which is on the site is in situ, right? So we want to do the experiments in situ. If I, let us say, collect the soil sample from moon and I do experiment in the lab in Ahmedabad, that will be ex situ. Soft landing, rovering, in situ. It is a follow-on mission to Chandrayaan 2. You have to write it. It is a follow-on mission to Chandrayaan 2. Chandrayaan 2 was a partial success. It was not exactly a failure. So it was a follow-on mission which we tried to do this capability. These are, again, I'll give you the notes if you want. Ab it is not relevant. Obviously, they will not ask you in the upcoming examination. What is your learning from this? When you are preparing for Aditya mission, when you are preparing for Shukrayaan mission, when you are preparing for mission to other areas, you also have to study what are the mission by different agencies. So this is, it started with Russia. Whenever Russia does something, किस country को करना पड़ता है? Second country will be USA. When USA does something, किसकी मजबूरी हो जाती है? और जब चाइना कुछ कर लेता है, then the 4th country is, yeah. So we are the 4th country. As you can see, it started with Russia. ASAT mission started with Russia, followed by USA, followed by China, followed by India. Moon landing started with Russia, then with USA, then with China, then with India. And then finally, what exactly are these payloads? These payloads. Again, I'm saying, if you're not able to remember this part, This part is more technical, this has more mugging up part. You have to remember this part, right? And this is not the tough part. That is करना क्या चाहते हो. अगर हम बोलें कि हमको नहीं समझ में आ रहा कि तुमने चंद्रयान की बग्गी पे क्या भेजा है, what you have sent on Chandrayaan, I do not understand. Who is Rambha? Who is Chaste? Who is Ilsa? I do not understand, but I understand that I want to measure the surface plasma. Plasma I understand. Plasma, solid, liquid, gas, plasma. तो यानी कि something that has to do with the climate of the universe, weather of the universe. I can remember this. I can remember that I want to understand the thermal properties. South pole की बात कर रही हूँ, तो पोल की properties क्या है? Thermal यानी ठंडा है, क्यों? वहां पे sunlight नहीं आई. ये सब रटा था ना हमने 1 2 3 4. Why South Pole? No sunlight, extremely cold. Water in the hydrate and cold form. So I want to do the thermal property experiments and the understanding of this region. Then seismicity. What is seismicity? Earth shaking, anything, volcano, seismicity. पूरा geography. Dimple ma'am ने शुरुआत करी है आज तुम्हारे साथ. Right. So seismicity I want to understand, and then I understand the dynamics of moon system. Now moon system, like earth system, atmosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere, combinedly it is called the moon system. So this, even if I don't understand this part you have to understand for Aditya, this part you have to understand for Gaganyaan, Shukrayaan, and likewise. Similarly, rover payloads. What are you trying to do here? This is rover. Rover यानी something that is on the surface, in situ वाला part. This is what you are trying to do. These are the findings of Chandrayaan-2, and this is why we are so keen on moon. If you want, you can read, although I don't think the question will be repeated again. The idea was, one, what are the themes important for the GS Mains 2024 are read your basics, that is the core areas of science, and then integrate them with your current affairs. Do not simply write the generic answers. If you have any issue related to science and technology, otherwise also I tell other students also, feel free to ask. You find any article which you find, ma'am इसको पढ़ना है, इसको जाने देना है, कितना पढ़ना है, तो आप हमसे पूछ सकते हैं कि इस आर्टिकल के साथ आपको कितना इन्वॉल्व होना है या इनको साइड से निकाल दें, राइट? बिकॉज साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी में जेनेरिक आंसर लिखोगे आपके नंबर कम आएंगे, राइट? टफ लगता है, बिल्कुल लगता है. मैडम ने पता नहीं क्या क्लिनिकल डायग्नोसिस से शुरुआत करी, एक्सरे तक तो मुझे समझ में आ रहा था, उसके बाद आई डू नॉट अंडरस्टैंड वेयर शी वेंट, आई नो दैट, बट क्या किया जाए, राइट? सो thank you so much, and I hope these sessions help you in the understanding of various subjects. Thank you so much. Have a great day.